Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. Today I'm doing another Hornby Loco investigation. A few weeks ago I did an investigation into my Hornby Britannia Loco, which was a fine runner except at the slow speeds. It was very juddery, it couldn't crawl, it was an expensive loco and I wasn't satisfied with that, so I decided to investigate. And it turned out that the only problem with the loco was the motor. The mechanism otherwise was absolutely spot on, but because of how crap, frankly, the original Hornby motor was, that loco was not a great runner. So when I put my own better motor into the loco, it was immediately fixed. It was miles better. Now I say my own better motor, that makes it sound like I spent 50 quid on a really expensive high quality motor, but I didn't. I spent £2 on a very cheap motor from China, and yet it totally transformed that £170 locomotive, which I think says a lot about the kind of motor Hornby had in there to begin with, doesn't it? But anyway, that was that. Today I'm investigating this locomotive, the Hornby Railroad Class 67. And I say the Class 67, what I'm about to say actually applies to quite a lot of the Hornby Railroad diesels. Again, their performance is fine for Hornby Railroad locomotives, but the way these models crawl, the way these models run at slow speed, could be a lot better. And I'm surprised that it isn't better, given that Hornby claim these locomotives sport 5-pole skew-wound motors. So in today's investigation, I want to take this loco apart to see if it really does have a 5-pole skew-wound motor. Now, is it fair of me to suspect that Hornby would mislead customers by saying these locos have 5-pole motors when they don't? Well, ordinarily, no. But the sad fact is, on many occasions throughout the course of this channel, I have come across occasions where Hornby have made claims about a product which have turned out not to be true. I'm not saying they do it deliberately, it could have been down to incompetence, but it has happened. And this is the kind of thing that it can happen with, because you look at a loco like this, you can't tell what sort of motor it's got without taking the thing apart. So if these did have a 3-pole motor, nobody would know. And again, the reason I'm suspicious is because they perform just like a 3-pole motor. So I want to see the motor for myself. Do I expect that it's a 3-pole motor? No, I think it's going to be similar to the Britannia situation. That loco did have a 5-pole motor, it was just a 5-pole motor from the depths of hell. So let's open this loco up. I would say, oh, isn't this going to be fun? It isn't going to be fun. I deliberately and actively avoid trying to take these railroad motor bogies apart because they are an absolute nightmare. So yeah, I'm not happy about this, but I really want to know the answer to this. I don't think I've ever covered the dismantling of one of these on the channel ever before, so have your fill, because I'm not doing it again after this. Hopefully I won't break it. There's a real chance I will, so if I do, you can have a good laugh at me and say, isn't Sam rubbish at this? Some people like to do that. Anyway, let's get started. So it's only been a few weeks since I reviewed this thing, and so naturally I've forgotten entirely how this thing comes apart. So just excuse me for a moment while I figure it out. I think it's these 2 screws on the bottom, which is unusual for a railroad loco. Usually the bodies just clip on, so that's pretty good. And when the body comes off, we're looking at this bogie. This is the driven one. So let's see if that does the trick. Oh, oops. Probably wasn't those screws then, was it? Because I don't remember that happening in the review. What an unprofessional billock. Hang on. Right. It might just be... Oh yeah, that was it, wasn't it? The body awkwardly clips over the chassis in a way that there's no lip. So it's really difficult to get your fingers in there. Oh, right, there we go, the body can go to one side. Okay, so I need to clip the chassis out from here. So it's really not very nice having to squeeze clips. Clips that if they fail, the entire model will be done for. So it's a case of, you might not see this too well, it's a case of like pulling down on the bogie and trying to squeeze these clips together. It's really not fun. And was it on Hornby and Model World, the TV show, where we saw the Hornby team fail to do this as well? I don't know. I feel like I'm going to tear this up. It's not really designed to come apart again. There we are, I got it. And it's clipped on at the ends. How fabulous. So let's unclip it as well. And what I think I'm going to need to do is desolder it, because again, it's really not designed to come apart again. That is as much slack as I've got on the wires. And that's going to be such a pain, isn't it? Because the pickup wires are there as well as the motor wires. So yeah, I told you I wasn't looking forward to this. Let's do it. Right, so the connections have been desoldered now, and it does make me ponder whether I'll ever be resoldering these connections again, because if the motor bogie is unusable after whatever the heck I'm going to do to it, there's probably not going to be any need to resolder all of this. So yeah, to be clear, I am going into this knowing full well there's a possibility this thing won't survive, and I don't mind too much. I bought this thing with the purpose of doing a video on it, and so that's what I intend to do. Right, the base is coming off, and the wheels can come out as well. So there we are. There you see the entirety of this loco's mechanism. A massive Class 67, powered by this thing. Plastic as well. So the thing with this is that it's got to be split apart now. It's clipped together. Again, everything's clips with this. I think with 4 clips. So I now have to ease these clips open. All of them at once, of course, which is easier said than done. And then we should be able to see exactly what's in here. So when you see me review a railroad locomotive and I say I'm not going to open the motor bogie, remember this is what's inside. Okay, there is the motor. Doesn't seem to be the standard sort of motor that I use. I was expecting to find the same motor as Britannia, so that's interesting. And this doesn't pertain to the video really, but there's the gear train, which is a separate part actually. That's interesting, isn't it? Nice little gear train. I say nice, well, there's nothing wrong with them, I don't think. And they just sort of pop in there. That's fair enough. Right, so we have access to the motor, which is supposed to be a 5-pole skew wound motor, and may well be, for all I know. It just doesn't really perform like one. So let's messily ease these clips apart and see what we've got inside. Right, will this come apart? It will. Wow. Oh dear, Hornby, you got found out. It's a 3-pole motor. Let me show you. There you go, look, count the coils. 1, 2, 3. Look how many plates there are on the commutator. 1, 2, 3. Wow. So I bet Hornby never expected anyone to do this. Never expected anyone to actually take this apart. But this is not true. Now, are they lying? Or was it just incompetence? Was it a mistake? Well, there's no way to know. But obviously, to tell customers something is so, to tell customers your product has a feature, and it turns out that feature isn't there, that's a problem. In fact, I think it's probably against the law. In fact, I know it's against the law, and it doesn't matter whether it's intentional or not. They should know their own product. So let's put this motor back together again. That's unbelievable, isn't it? Well, it's not really unbelievable. Like I say, it's happened before, so it was always a possibility. But yeah, I didn't think they would be wrong about something so fundamental. Anyway, yeah, this is going to be awkward because the brushes are out the way. Right, so it's back together. Is it knackered? Oh. Yep, no, it's not knackered. Right, so this is the motor I thought it was going to be. And they're similar. This is the one out of Britannia, by the way. This is also a terrible motor. I don't want to use this one, but would it fit? No, I don't think it would fit, would it? So I think I would have to... Oh dear, definitely not. Yeah, it might have fit that way. In fact, it would have. Yeah, it would have fit that way. And actually thinking about it, the motor I used last time had a shaft on both ends, didn't it? Let's literally put this together and see if it will fit. It will. So actually, let's put an actual 5-pole motor into this thing, as there should have been to start with, because that's what Hornby claimed. And let's see how a loco like this would perform if they were fitted with a 5-pole motor, as Hornby claimed that they were fitted with. Can't believe that. Deary me, Hornby. This is why it's no good to just outsource your products without having a good grasp of them yourself. You know? I don't know. Right, I'll grab a 5-pole motor. I won't show you the process, but I will show you the result. I'll be right back. Right, well, that was quite easy, actually. No cutting of the shaft required. Just a straight swap of the worm, soldered everything in, it's ready to go. So, I'm even confident enough to put the body on right now so that it's a complete loco when we test it. So, confident move, let's get it down onto the track, let's see if this works, and more importantly, let's see if this works better now that it's got the motor it was specified to have. Right, so, for the first time, with a 5-pole motor, let's see if this thing works. Here goes. And it does. Right, so with that then, we'll jump straight into a comparison. Here is footage shot during my review of this Railroad Class 67. This was the best crawl this loco could muster. Now, let me back this one up and let me show you how well this one can crawl now, if at all. Maybe I should run this in before I try this, but I'm confident there'll be an improvement because, you know, it's got a 5-pole motor. And yes, look how slow that is. It's not dreadfully smooth yet. Maybe it will get smoother as I run it in. But yeah, that's kind of a big difference, isn't it, chaps? Well, it's cut out there, actually. Try again. Oh, was it not on the track properly? That would explain it. I mean, that is so much different. Which is very important to say, because this is not just a quibble about vocabulary, is it? Oh, they said 5-pole, it has a 3-pole. No, this is extremely misleading to customers because it was claimed that a certain motor had been used, and in reality, a cheaper and poorer motor has been used, which has had a major impact on the performance. That is why this is serious. I mean, the difference is significant, isn't it? And goodness me, that is so much better. The old one could not have done this, the old motor, that is. Right, let's run it in then. There we go. So the big question then is, has Hornby lied to their customers here? And I personally think lying is too strong a word because, like I say, it's only lying if there was an intent to mislead and if they didn't know that the motors here were actually 3-pole motors and not 5-pole motors, hence the far poorer performance than you'd expect, then it isn't lying, it's just them not knowing their product, which is obviously not okay, and it's ridiculous that we find ourselves in this situation. But yeah, just to clarify, we don't know that there has been dishonesty here, but what we can say here is either deliberately or by accident, Hornby have not told their customers the truth. And I think it's also fair to say that they haven't done their due diligence, they haven't checked that the product delivered to them from the factory was as specified, which seems crazy to me. You know, if I'd commissioned a model to be produced by a factory and I was putting my name on it and I was telling customers, here are the specs, I think I would be dismantling at least one of them to check that actually what I was saying was correct. Because I think now Hornby find themselves in some trouble over this. I think anybody disappointed with their railroad locomotive because it has a 3-pole motor and not a 5-pole motor, and therefore the performance isn't adequate, I think they have the right to an upgrade, frankly, because the product they purchased is not as described. Now, of course, in this video, I'm only claiming that it is the Class 67 that has the wrong motor. I haven't disassembled any of the other railroad diesel classes to see if those are the same. So I can't comment on whether this is a more widespread issue or not, but if it is, this is a big deal. So I hope Hornby order some 5-pole motors in. Luckily, it's a simple swap. But yeah, this needs to be made right. Products have been sold not as described. They have claimed to customers that a certain motor has been used, and then, for whatever reason, a cheaper, worse motor has actually been delivered. Yeah, that's not good. So very disappointed. Again, I'm sure this is just accidental. I have to be positive. I have to look and try and see the best in them. I think this is just, again, Hornby, frankly, not knowing what they're doing, not really knowing what they're selling, and once again, it's biting them in the behind. But none of that matters. What really matters is that customers should get what they pay for. So yeah, I'm sure we'll hear from Hornby on this. I'm sure there will be an update soon as to what they intend to do about this. But for now, that's all I've got. That is not what I was expecting to find. But I'm quite glad I did this now, because that shed light on something quite major. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you have a Hornby Railroad diesel locomotive that doesn't perform as you expected, even though it was claimed to have a 5-pole motor? If so, you may have the same issue here. So do let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, folks. You take care.